Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to the James Kennedy Podcast. Thanks for listening in. We've got an important one today, guys, and we've got a brilliant guest coming up in just a bit who's going to be talking to us about the issue of men's mental health, and I hope you'll take the time to listen to the whole thing. Like you, I've got many friends who suffer with mental health issues. I've had many of those struggles myself and continue to do so in many ways. You know, I suppose it's an ongoing battle. And sadly, like you, I'm sure, I've lost people as well who have been defeated by those battles and have taken their own life. Now, the statistics on men's mental health are not good. 75% of deaths by suicide are men. Let me just repeat that. 75% of deaths by suicide are men. And this is even crazier. For men under 50, that is all men under 50, the single biggest cause of death is suicide. Now, this is something that we should all be concerned about and we should all know more about, because with figures like that, it's inevitable that this is going to affect your life in some way at some point. Now, there are many theories as to why this seems to be, at the extreme end at least, an exclusively male problem. But I'd like to state just at the start of this that I am aware that it isn't an exclusively male problem. Everybody has mental health struggles. And I will definitely be doing a more universal, non-gender specific episode on mental health, hopefully very soon. But today we are focusing exclusively on the issue of men's mental health. Why is it so difficult for men to talk or acknowledge or confront their struggles? Why is there still such a social stigma around men having normal vulnerabilities? Why is it that we have those absolutely unfathomable statistics that I just mentioned? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Now, this is not going to be, a bleak, depressing, morbid affair for the next hour, I promise you. The whole purpose of the conversation we're going to be having with our guest today is more about gaining some constructive, positive, productive and useful things that we can all do to move ourselves more into the light. And I would urge everyone, no matter how desperate you might feel or how despondent or pointless it might all seem, please just spare an hour to listen to some of the brilliant information that's going to be in the following conversation. And if you're a relative or a loved one or a friend of someone who you know is struggling, please listen to it as well, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff here. And because this is so important, I'm not even going to do the whole preamble nag that I always do about subscribing to the podcast. We're just going to cut straight down to business. We are joined today by Luke Ambler, co-founder of the incredible men's mental health charity Andy's Man Club. Founded in 2016 after the suicide of his brother-in-law Andrew Roberts, Luke's brilliant work helps over 2,500 men all across the country every week and earned him the Queen's Award for Voluntary Service in 2021. This guy is changing lives and saving lives, and he's got a lot of good things to say. So please listen to the end, and please welcome onto the podcast Mr. Luke Ambler. How are you, sir?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Well, thank you for being here, man, and thanks for everything that you've done up until now as well, with the brilliant and beautiful work that you've done. We're going to get into all that today, but I'd first like to start with, what is Andy's Man Club and how did it get started?
So the what is talking groups for men, basically, in a very simple way to explain it. We have talking groups in 100 plus locations all over the UK, and men just like us, going through storms, meet up, they have a brew, they have a chat in a real simple model and format, but that works. And we're attracting over 2,600 men a week now. Wow. So big numbers. So how it started was, why does it exist, is my brother-in-law Andrew Roberts died by suicide back in April 2016. So I came up with an idea that we need to get men talking. So I approached my mother-in-law about doing it in his name, and she agreed. And then I went and set that up alongside Elaine. And then about a month later, I started a campaign called It's Okay to Talk, which just completely blew up. The Samaritans had a start at one point, they're tech guys that had reached over 100 million people.
Wow.
So we're trending like number 2 on Twitter at one point. It was huge. And it just skyrocketed the awareness side of things, which I think you'll probably agree, this last 5-6 years has been a big boom in talking about male mental health, which is amazing.
100%.
I'm not putting it all down to that. I think that it did spark a fire that were already there in a lot of people. And then what I didn't want to do, though, was just tell men to talk, just break down stigmas. I want to give guys a safe space and platform to do so, and that's what we created with Andy's Man Club.
Absolutely incredible. And what were you doing for your work before that? What was your life like prior to all this starting?
Yeah, so I was a professional rugby player. So
wow.
That's what I did And yeah, so I played professional rugby, and also had a speaking business alongside, talking about mindset, motivation, mental well-being,
Right.
which is what I still do now. So everything charity related, I do voluntary. So I don't work for the charity. We have 17 staff that do, who I directly, you could say, line manage.
Right.
So I'm chair of the trustees, but I also sit as voluntary CEO and oversee the general manager and everyone else. So it's busy, but well, you know, I would change it for world, because it'd obviously be a lot nicer having Andy back and not having this. But
yeah.
I'm a big believer in, you've got to, you know, play the cards that you do have, not look at what hand you could have had. So this is the cards that we're dealt. This is the hand that we've played, and it's helping a lot of people, which is beautiful.
It is beautiful, man. I mean, what you've done is turn something so tragic and traumatic and dark into something so positive and helpful for so many people. And I know that you've changed so many lives. And is it true that you were awarded the Queen's Award in 2021? Is that right?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate with awards. And the beautiful thing about IMCs is that we don't do anything we do for awards. And I think as a result, that's probably why we end up winning quite a lot of awards.
Right.
We've won the Queen's Award, National Diversity Award, Just Giving Awards. The list goes on. But for us, as we say, or as I say in any speech I ever do up there, as nice as this is winning this, it's not a reflection of who we are or why we do what we do.
No.
The only bonus of winning this award is because it might raise some more awareness, and it might get that 100%. One man through that door, which is what we're all about, really.
Yeah,
when you've got an organisation growing at the rate ours has for the last 6 years, it's about trying to keep everyone's feet on ground. It's quite easy to get carried away with the big stuff that happens. You know, we've got a lot of partnerships going on at the minute, big name, you know, brands wanting to be all over us and collaborate with us. But as I always say to team, it's, you know, don't let success go to your head, but also don't let failure go to your heart.
I like that. Yeah, I'm guessing your background in motivational speaking and sport probably places you very well for doing a job like this. I mean, is that the case, or have you had your own experience and your own battles and struggles in the past as well to draw from?
No, definitely overcome quite a bit. You know, probably the main reason why I started on this man club is not because of Andy. I think there already frustration there, because I already had an idea to start something within the mental wellbeing space. I had a gym at the time, and I had a room at the side that I thought would make a great classroom, and I'd already started delivering workshops for disengaged youths, but not just youths, all you know, young adults as well. So I think when Andy died, it was tough, because I'd been through, you know, if we talk about just the major setbacks, you know, the short stories is 8-year-old parents separated. There's no uniqueness to that. Everyone's had separations in their life, and we all deal with them very differently as well. My way was comfort eating, so you can imagine a kid comfort eating, going to school, you know, being a very, very big kid, very big kid. And then my dad won custody, and then mum has a car crash, which leaves her with a severe mental illness, slight brain damage, and a mental illness where she has drop attacks that she still has to this day. So my mum brain will just switch off, and she'll lick the deck, face planting, she can knock her teeth out, break a jaw, cheekbone, she's done it. So growing up, understanding mental illness, and then mental health, as a result of most mental illness, her mental health suffered. So she had anxiety that bad that she didn't leave her house for 4 years, not once. Depression upon being suicidal. So I understand mental health from a very young age.
Right.
You know, I've had my own insecurities, and when I was younger, they'd call me a natural worrier. Now we'd diagnose someone with severe anxiety.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess I like to tell the stories different nowadays. I used to, you know, there's been all sorts that's happened in between that with my mum and getting let go from Lee Drinos. And I used to tell it in a very victim way. This happened to me. But if everything didn't happen how it did, I won't be doing what I'm doing now. So I think at some point you've got to rewrite the story of what you tell yourself about what happened, because cards are dealt to us all the time, aren't they? And I think we've just got to get to a point where we can accept where we're at, whether that's positively or negatively, then build on that. And that's the other way we can get ourselves back up.
Such a great outlook, man. And I think because of that, and the story you just shared, you're not just someone who is talking about this from a motivational perspective, or, you know, something that you've been trained in. You do have that personal experience to draw from within your own family and from within yourself and your own struggles and your own journey.
100%. I think you be very rare that you meet anyone that I probably work with 100,000 people a year on a normal year, and I'm yet to meet anyone from CEO level to prisoners in prison who I work with that have not been through some form of storm. Like you say, the level of intensity of that storm usually comes down to a variety of things, from how we deal with stuff. And I know a lot of people use that sometimes as they get out, like, we all deal with things differently. My own parents will say stuff, yeah, but we all deal with things differently. But that don't make it right. You know, if someone can deal with something in a way that helps them progress, and someone deals with it in a way that helps them regress, and they turn to drugs and they turn to drink and they become depressed and anxious, that's clearly not a positive way to deal with what's going on.
Great point.
Especially, you know, I think why Andy's Man Club works, if I'm being completely open and honest, is I fucking love life. And if you think of what the opposite to suicide is, it's life appreciation. So I think I'm continually a walking experiment myself. So I'm doing a lot of things right now, daily habits that I'm putting myself into uncomfortable positions to see the overall benefits and hopefully then pass that back to people. So it's not just I stand up front and talk to people, or I lead this organisation and tell people what to do. I try and hope that I'm leading by example each and every day.
Oh, you totally are, man. Jesus. And I suppose we should probably address the elephant in the living room at this point as well. I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I think it opens up a whole lot of other questions around men's mental health specifically. But why is Andy's Man Club only for men?
So in the early days when it first started, it was just that all the stats were saying that male suicide was, accounting for 3 in 4 suicides. And then when the first night happened and we put it out for men to talk, it was never we don't want women to come. So Elaine came to that first session. And then Elaine said to me after, I think they might be more comfortable if there's not a lady there. Some guys would be more comfortable speaking to a woman, but with some of the topics that come up on the days, could be around about domestic violence in terms of the guy receiving that from his partner, or it could be something to do with some insecurities around his body or whatever. The topics are so wide, varying, that we just felt at the time that men were speaking better to just men, to strangers, so that it became this safe space for men.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, man. It makes a lot of sense. I think it's very easy, when you have these invisible struggles, to believe that they're only happening to you. And, sometimes the best cure, I think, is to vent it out or laugh it out with a bunch of mates over a drink and, realize that actually, we're all feeling the same way. And it's almost like a normal part of the human experience, I mean, God knows I've been through it, man. I mean, I've done therapy. I'm still going through it now in many ways. I cut out booze for 3.5 years and then go back on it again big time. Something I'm trying to get a handle on again. I'm currently working on, doing some yoga and some meditation and some exercise and changing my diet. And I've recently discovered the magic of breath work, which has changed my life. So it's an ongoing project. You're never really at the top of the hill. So I can totally relate in my own way as well. But unfortunately for many people, these struggles and these battles can make them quite solitary or withdrawn or isolated, or they just bury it away, so that people around them would have no idea they were even going through it. And all of those things compound the problem and just make it all so much worse, and forms a kind of a feedback loop of negative self-confirmation or something. So by breaking that cycle and getting men talking in a neutral and supportive space around other people who understand exactly how they feel, I think is so important into breaking those cycles. But why is it then, do you think, that there's still such a stigma around men's mental health? And why is it still such a difficult taboo subject for men?
I think it's 3 reasons. I think it's burden, weakness, embarrassment. And I don't just think these are just for men, because suicide in females is on the up, because with equality and with gender equality, when you tip the scales, everything tips. So females now are becoming more masculine, and that is proven in the way that females are taking their life. Females, I won't go into methods, but females used to take their lives in a certain way which was considered more feminine, and there were a masculine way to take your life, and that's definitely turning. And I believe that, just look at roles, so at one point my granddad might have gone to work, Nana might not, Mum might have started to go to work part-time or moved full-time, and now my wife and most people's partners work full-time just like they do. And societally, it's changing, it's tipping.
Right.
So the three stigmas are for both male and female majority, which is burden, weakness, embarrassment. And you'll probably experience these yourself. Burden is that you don't want to tell someone what you're going through who's close to you because you don't want to put your shit onto them because you know that they've got their own stuff to deal with.
Right.
You don't need yours on top.
Yeah.
Burden is bullshit because I know from first hand that Andy taking his life left a far greater burden than whatever you're going through.
Yeah.
The next one is weakness, because I don't think this is weakness in the typical sense what most people think. I think the weakness comes because we live in a success-driven society, and everyone wants to be successful, but yet majority of people don't know what success is. And I speak to blue chip companies, multinational companies, and I ask them, put your hand up if you want to be successful. Everyone in the room will put their hand up, maybe by one stubborn person. Or the person already believes that they're there. And then I'll ask them to put their hand down, and I'll ask them to put their hand up again if they know what success is. And 6 people of a room of 300, 400, 500 people might put their hand up.
Right.
And I always find that's crazy that we're all striving to be something, yet majority of us don't know what it is. So by giving away weakness, or perceived weakness, we then believe that we're not going to get to this idea that we're going to be successful and strong and masculine and and winners. Where actually, I believe that true vulnerability is strength, and vulnerability is doing something that you don't know the outcome, which is asking someone out on a date, going for a job interview, taking that chance in life, going travelling, whatever it may be, opening up about your sexuality, opening up about your mental health, because you don't know. But the problem you've got is that you could open up about your sexuality to your dad, who just may not understand it, and he may reject the idea that you are gay, or you want to transition your sex or your gender. That don't mean then that everyone else in the world's going to accept that. Just like if you want to open up to someone that you're suicidal or mental health's poor right now, just because the first person doesn't understand it doesn't mean that everyone else will. So by being vulnerable more times than not, it helps to create strength. But I do believe that talking is only the start. I believe that we can all sit and talk about problems all day long, but unless another action comes from the talking. So my theory now is that talking helps to get rid of the shit, the bad stuff, the darkness. The actions that you do away from that then helps put the good back in there. So you mentioned a few good activities earlier: breath work, meditating, natural sunlight, getting outdoors, exercising. All these create the opposite to sitting and bottling up your feelings, which is an increase in dopamine, serotonin, which releases or decreases stress, anxiety, depression, thoughts of isolation and loneliness. Yeah. And then probably because as a result we'll be more confident to talk to people and make friends and be around people. So true strength is being vulnerable, but being vulnerable to not only be courageous to talk about your problems, but to deal with them and then to move forward with that baggage. And the last one is embarrassment. We live in a culture where we don't want to give anything away about ourselves that could be used against us in any type of way, by an employer, by a friendship group. So sometimes it feels easy just to keep that to yourself. But once you understand that everyone you know is fighting a battle you know nothing about, the embarrassment goes away, because embarrassment is only something that's unique to you. When you realise that everyone's going through that same storm, everyone's been through that shit, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. But again, it takes acceptance to understand that.
100%. Dude, I agree with everything you're saying, and I've experienced a lot of it myself within my own journey and amongst my peers and stuff and people that I've been around. So yeah, I completely echo everything you're saying. I mean, action is the important thing, isn't it? I mean, for me, I've been in those ruts and they can last months or years, and then eventually, like I would say that my biggest rewards in life have come from those times when I've hit rock bottom. When you get to the point where you snap and you think, actually, no, I'm going to do something about this. I can't wake up another day feeling like this anymore. And that's when you do something about it. And it's hard and it's difficult and it's scary and it's, it's challenging and terrifying, to confront some of your demons and to try and do something about it. But when you push through and you come through the other side, you look back and you think, man, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. My life is so much better now as a result of dealing with that rather than just ignoring it or burying it under booze or whatever it might be, or just wallowing in self-pity. Some of my lowest points have been my biggest awakenings, so I 100% agree with that. So when people come to the club then, what can they expect? It's primarily a safe space where men can talk and be vulnerable and open about whatever, amongst other people who are also going through similar journeys. That's the primary thing. So what can people expect when they turn up on day one?
Yeah, it's good you've highlighted that, because there is a difference. This is what I've always got to clear between what I personally do and what AMC does.
Right.
So there's a difference there, which we might be elaborate on the difference later in terms of AMC is a set model. So, the stuff that I do in the morning, cold showers and all that stuff, that ain't forced upon people or even recommended at AMC. There's a very different. So if we're just talking about AMC specifically,
okay.
There's two arms to AMC. One is the groups and one is like the awareness side of things and the breaking stigmas. If we talk about the groups on a Monday night, what happens is a guy will walk through the door. There'll be some guys at the door we'll call facilitators. Those facilitators will be there to welcome you. They're not paid. They're volunteers. They're guys who walk through the very same door that you walk through at some point, whether it's at that venue you're at or a town down the road, and then they've come to their town and set up a group in their area. So they know either what you've been through or they've been through something similar and come through the other side. You'll then get invited in to come in, they'll introduce it, you'll get brew, you'll sit down in a big circle, and the main facilitator will just give you the list of rules, stuff we don't talk about, which is like religion, politics, that type of thing. And then it'll just kickstart off with just your name and a positive reason for being there. And you don't need to use your real name if you don't want. You can use a made-up name because it's down to you, but just a positive reason for being there, just to get you comfortable in being able to open up. And then it's always, how's your week been? The second question round, the third question always be, is anything to get off your chest? And it's up to you. You can pass the ball on with a ball that goes round. You can pass that ball on every time, or you can share. And the first question is first question is name a positive reason for being there. Then you'll get, how's your week been? Then you'll get positive from your week, and then anything to get off your chest.
Right.
And then after that, the fourth and fifth question, or in this case, fifth and sixth, if we're counting the name and positive reason, is that they'll change every week. And that might be, what's a goal you've got between now and next week? Quickfire might be someone who you're appreciative right now in your life. Why?
Right.
And then that fires out. It's just to give you them little seeds of hope that there is people in your life. You can have a goal.
Yes, right.
You can have that little bit of inspiration to move forward next week.
Providing a bit of balance to what you might be caught up in your head,
100%. So you've got the positives, you've got the big negative, and then you've got a couple of positives to finish to hopefully help to rewire some of them thought processes that you've been having.
Love it. Yeah, no, such a brilliant thing, man. And you said there's a difference in the official kind of AMC model compared to some of the things that you talk about personally. I'm guessing with your background in sports and motivational speaking and things, you've probably got a lot to offer that might not fit in with the AMC talking model. So I'd be interested to hear some of that in cases of use to anyone listening who's going through some of this stuff.
No, so what we're trying to say is that some of the stuff I'm talking to you about today and the way that I approach stuff isn't it? So AMC is a model now.
Yeah.
Is a model that works. So each facilitator is going to sit and talk to you about, or be as blunt as I am. They're there to listen.
Right.
They're there to guide. Where my approach is maybe a little bit more, you've got to deal with what's going on. AMC, it's not really necessarily like that. In that sense, it's more of a softer love. Right. So it's more of an arm around your shoulder. Let's talk about how we feel, which is amazing. And the questions do that process. And then that brotherhood that's often banded around is created where you can go on that journey with people then. And either you come for a few weeks and you leave and you get back on with your life, or you might become a facilitator yourself and you might start a group in your area. And
wow.
Because, we have over 1,000 facilitators now across the country who are all volunteers, and that's not including the tens of thousands of actual volunteers that we have who do events and raise awareness for us. So
it's incredible, man. Such incredible work you're doing, and still going strong as well. Going from strength to strength. If anything, it must be amazing to see it blossom into what it has. The figures you quoted there speak for themselves, but I'd be interested to know what effects on people have you actually seen in the field as a result of attending Andy's Man Club.
So firstly, AMC won't work for everyone, but it is there for everyone. Not everyone's going to come and thrive in it. And I have to say that because sometimes I think that if someone's listening to this podcast and they think this could be my saving grace and they turn up and it's not quite for them.
Right.
But also what I'd say to those people is give it a few weeks. Give it a few weeks. Don't just come once and think it's not for me, because I can guarantee if you go to your first PT session, you're probably not going to like it either.
Yeah.
Fitness-wise, you'd be like, your first cold water session, your first yoga session.
Yeah.
But once you get into it and you start to understand the benefits it's having, it'll help. Well, I could give you thousands of stories of people in their lives have gone from survival mode to thriving mode. From not wanting to be here anymore to suddenly getting job promotions and seeing the kids or being a better father, being a better human being, becoming a part of our facilitator team and helping other guys, starting groups in their areas, and then maybe even now working for the charity. So the list goes on of those people. One story always stands out for me of we get thousands of emails saying the group saved my dad's life, my brother's life, my uncle's life.
Amazing.
And they don't lose impact, but because the word's on the screen, it's very different to when you actually see, like I did recently, last year, a dad drop his kid off at school in the class down from my daughter's, and he approached me and just said, "You're the Andy's Man Club guy." I said, "Yeah." He says, I said, "Thank you. I want to be able to drop my daughter off today for your group." So when times like that happen, it's pinch yourself moment where this is why we started. This is why we cast.
Yeah, no, it's amazing work, and I salute you, and as I'm sure all of the listeners. Well, I personally got friends. I was introduced to Andy's Man Club by some friends of mine who'd been, and they said it changed their life, and now they are. And I can personally vouch for the fact that they're in a much better place now. They got rid of all the habits and the bad behaviors and the things that they were attached to. That's all gone. They're living much better lives, much more fruitful lives, and so we all thank you for that. So I can say from myself that I know people who've personally benefited from it. So yeah, it must be an incredible thing to see blossom from your own tragedy into what it is now. You mentioned that you have a much more direct, hands-on approach. I'm guessing that comes from a background in sport. What would this is completely, I'll say, unconnected to the AMC model. This is Luke Ambler talking as a person. What would your personal approach be? You said it's a bit more forthcoming.
No, what I mean by that, it's not like army style. I just mean I believe that the talking helps, and what you do after that, what you do in the 6 days that you're not there, is as important as the 1 hour that you are, 2 hours that you are there. So for me, at the minute, I'm reading a lot and I'm learning a lot, as I've done for the last 10 years, but then implementing it. So like I eat a whole food diet.
Right.
I think the diet is so undervalued in terms of our mental health. I believe that we live in a society where it's like one won't hurt me, but we'd never have one because we're extreme. So what you say about going for a pint with a friend, it never ends up just being a pint with a friend unless you have got that self-control. Most people, when they're struggling, they'll go out for a big session. That session might take 2-3 days.
Good point.
And then you've got this constant ebb and flow. There's never a middle path, as we call it in Buddhism, a middle path along the line.
Right.
For me, I've developed since Boxing Day a real stringent routine. I get up every day, I do 3 rounds of breath work, I get a 3-minute cold shower. And the cold shower, like this morning, where I'm living, if you can't see, but it's snowing up here, it's -3 degrees. So the cold temperature coming this morning was horrendous. But I feel amazing now. I do simple stuff like I take magnesium before bed every night.
Okay.
Because the studies around magnesium in terms of physical and mental health are astronomical in what it does. And then I exercise. I'm obviously quite an extreme character. I'm training for 2 Ironman this year, potentially a third, down in Wales, depending how I do. So I've got a real stringent. I'm doing something. So I did a post yesterday. So I'm doing a challenge where I plan to stick to a series of things for a full year without faltering.
That's awesome.
Right? It's normally called 75 hard, so it's normally 75 days of this challenge I've done before. I decided after doing Boxing Day and New Year's Day that I added a couple extra things like the breathwork and the cold shower, and that I wanted to try this for a full year to see what are the benefits of committing just 1 year of your life, because I've committed the other way, and I've ate junk food for a year and drank for a year and not exercised for a year.
Yep.
But what is it like when you truly commit? And then what I put at the end of the post is, regardless if you want to do an extreme challenge or not, if you can just drink more water with electrolytes, read/educate yourself daily, whether it's 5 pages of a book, whatever it may be, eat a majority whole food diet and get outside and exercise in whatever form that may be, whether it be going for a walk daily, whatever that may be, you give yourself a much better chance of progressing in your life and going from what I like to call coping strategies, which is what we get told, to thriving strategies. Because what I want to get to a point is where mental health is spoke about in terms of anxiety, depression. It's spoke about in terms of self-confidence, self-belief, being patient, being calm, being present. Because a lot of the time we speak about poor mental health, and I don't think there's enough talk on positive mental health.
Right.
And then people will often say, you don't know what it feels like to not be able to want to get up. Like I don't know what that feels like. Like they assume that I don't know what that feels like. But I also know what it feels like to constantly ruminate with your thoughts and feel heavy,
100%.
feel like you don't have no motivation, feel like you don't want to move forward with life. So doing that cold shower, which for 3 minutes, as an example, is horrendous at that moment. I know the benefits that gives me for the rest of the day.
Okay.
I know that drinking a certain amount of water, which might have to force down, although supping 2-3 pints is easy for most people. Getting 2-3 pints of water in is very hard. But once your cells are hydrated, it gives you more energy. And if you actually just sat here on a very simplistic model and thought, where's my mental health? Where's my mental health suffering? Where's my energy levels? Very low. What sort of activities am I doing? Drinking, maybe. I'm sitting around. All these, I'm watching TV, I'm spending time on social media, I'm consuming in my thoughts. All those are energy-taking activities.
Yep.
Energy-giving activities are things like breath work, hydrating your body, eating whole foods, going out and exercising in any capacity that may be. And all these are energy-giving activities. And I believe if we could start doing more energy-giving activities, which take more energy to get started, as a whole society will start to feel better.
No, I totally agree, man. I mean, I recently read a book which changed my life. It was called The Body Keeps the Score by a guy called Bessel van der Kolk. And it's all about how trauma kind of manifests itself in your physiology as such. So you might not be consciously aware of it, but it's there in your body. It's there in your immune system. It's there in your fatigue. It's there in your tension. It's there in your headaches or your agitation or your fidgetiness or your inability to sleep or, whatever it is. It's almost like it leaves an imprint on your physiology and your nervous system. And this doesn't have to be, war veteran level stuff. This can just be childhood shit. You know what I mean? Just like the environments that we're raised in, whether it's at home or in school or wherever, it can just be 1,000 micro events add up to the same net effect as, one massive trauma. I think it's called complex PTSD. And it's manifested in your body. So if you're able to tune into that, you're able to read the signals then of what your underlying kind of tensions may be. The complication with that comes in when you're someone like me who dealt with things by kind of numbing themselves, which is why I guess alcohol would be my drug of choice and stuff like that. You're actually numbing yourself into what your body or your brain is telling you, which is the reverse of what you should be doing. If you're able to tune in better to what your body is telling you and realize, hey man, why is my chest tight? I'm just watching a movie. Why am I gripping the side of the sofa or grinding my teeth when I sleep? Well, why can't I sit still? All of these things, it's kind of, we're used to it, so we don't notice it. But as soon as you're able to become aware of it and tune into it, you realize, oh, actually, yeah, this is like some childhood shit that I'm dragging through my life with me. It's absolutely fascinating read, man. And he goes on to explain how to break that cycle. It is to basically reconnect with your physical sensations and tune more into it. And the way that you can do that is things such as, like I mentioned earlier, yoga, exercise, nature, breath work. And the breath work, I gotta be honest, man, like I hold my breath a lot. I don't even realize I'm doing it. I've been doing it so long, and that affects everything. It affects your heart rate, it affects your lungs, it affects the oxygen getting to your brain, your brain fog, all that sort of stuff. And I often, hold my breath for like most of the day. It's kind of like an underlying tension that I just haven't been aware of for the first 40 years of my life. So doing breath work has been an absolute game changer for me. It's just like breathing deeply and slowly and controlling my inner kind of tension. It's fucking hard work, but I'm telling you, man, the results have been absolutely mind-blowing in a really short space of time. So I'm hooked on that shit. That's, for me, that's been a game changer. But I'm very new to all this stuff. I mean, I only read that book like a few weeks ago, so I'm still kind of digesting a lot of it. But you said yourself that you do breathwork as well, and I know that you are a lot more further down the road with all this stuff than I am. So I'd be interested to know, what kind of breathwork do you do, and can you share any tips for the listeners?
Brilliantly said. I think there's a variety of ways of doing breath work. Mine is the Wim Hof model. So it's more about oxygenating the body. So to give you a brief example, I do 30 breaths, which are quite powerful breaths. So you're breathing quite hard. So through your mouth, it's like, and then you just let go.
Okay.
Like that as an example. On the 30th breath, you let out, and then you hold your breath until it gets not too uncomfortable, but until you can't anymore. Then you breathe in and you hold that breath for 10, 15 seconds. then that's round 1, and I do 3 rounds of that.
Wow.
So there's a lot of studies. I know Wim Hof's done a lot of studies on this. So I've followed Buddhism for a long time, so I've understood the breath and grounding and being present. But this is more to really oxygenate the blood, relieve stress, and it just sets me off the day. It primes me, and fires me up, I guess. Because it gives you a big surge of oxygen.
100%. Yeah. And I didn't realize how much difference that makes because, like I say, I tend to hold my breath and breathe very shallow. And I get like heart pain and chest pain and all sorts of things. As soon as I started oxygenating myself in the morning and throughout the day, I'm just more mindful of my breath now. I feel so much better. And everything you've said, I can vouch for because I'm currently doing it myself. Hydrating more. I was previously hydrating myself with bourbon and whiskey, which I still love. Yeah. They're the fruits of life. Got to enjoy yourself too, but I don't do it every night now. And I tell you one thing for definite, since I've not been drinking every night, I've just been hydrating and going to bed early and getting some routine and doing breath work and doing yoga. Been sleeping like a baby, feeling a million times better just as a result of doing that. You know what I mean? And then that doesn't take away the demons and the challenges, but it makes me a bit more able to see them for what they are and gives me the strength to confront them because I got the reserve in the tank. You know what I mean?
That's the big one. And I think what people don't understand is and the other one I meant to say when I was talking about the thing that I believe in is sleep. So I had a friend text me last night, actually. So I used to be a really get up and go early morning guy. And it's not until I've truly understood sleep that, so I'd be a guy that get up at 4:30 and go running or do something crazy and motivational speaker type. Let's go, get up.
Come on, guys.
And then I realised, if you type in, your followers and listeners won't be able to see me now, but if you type in Luke Ambler, Andy's Man Club on YouTube, it's a Lab Bible second video. There's a video of me. In fact, what I'll try to do is I'll try and show you for a little bit of, I can't see it, but can't share screen. You could see the difference in how old I look there.
Okay.
And there's loads of studies that weight gain comes from lack of sleep because of the increase in cortisol, your body's stress mechanism, thinking that you're not going to get enough sleep, so it protects you, it stores what energy you've got, and it holds onto it. It's also aging, so pro-aging rather than anti-aging. So I make sure now that, and I've got a watch that tracks it all, that I'm getting at least 8 hours a night, and I have a really stringent routine before bed around a hot bath and getting some sort of form of heat at night. I'm very lucky that the gym I go has got a sauna, so nice. I either go for a sauna at night, which I'll do tonight, and then I always believe, from the studies I'm reading, it's cold in the morning, heat at night.
Right.
Your body needs a natural temperature drop, a 2-degree temperature drop to be able to get a good sleep. So for me, it's magnesium, it's heat, and then I read my book as I get in bed. And I've got 10 pages to read every day. And when I'm on page 6, I'm already nodding off.
Yeah.
And then I'm asleep. But also other stuff that people don't talk about, which helps get to sleep, is by getting sunlight.
Okay.
So if you actually go and get sunlight during the day, it actually helps beat insomnia. So if you think about what most people do, are tired, they stay in house all day in their house. We're actually going out and getting an hour's sunlight a day. So this is where people say, oh yeah, nature really helps me. Yeah, way more ways than what you think.
Right.
So you go out and even look towards the sun, you've got a natural defense mechanism called blinking. So you don't look directly at it, but around it. There's a great doctor out there called Dr. Huberman, and he's doing loads of studies on this. He's putting all sorts out there. Also increasing salt intake is a huge one, where we get told to decrease salt intake. But all studies have been done by people with hypertension, which is why you should decrease. But those with normal regulated bodies should be increasing salt and electrolytes so that they're well hydrated. Well hydrated means you're going to sleep better at night as well. So sleep's the key. Like I love sleep. Me too.
I undervalued it for so long. I actually prided myself on being a guy that got 4 hours sleep a night. So I was getting shit done. As you said earlier, subscribing very much to that model of success and the modern man of having to crush it all the time.
Yes, this crush it mentality.
All I crushed was my fucking self.
Exactly, 100%.
I tell you now, I'm crushing it way more now I'm sleeping, dude. Honestly.
100%. And I think that's it's an energy giver, isn't it? What we're talking about.
100%. I think what's coming through loud and clear here, dude, is action. You know, you've just given the listeners a ton of actual stuff that is easily achievable by working it into your daily habit. A little walk around the block for some people who literally don't get out of the house for the reasons you've mentioned. That in itself is a massive fucking start. You know what I mean? Just getting out of the house, take a walk around the block, it make you feel better. You know, make an effort to drink a glass of water in the morning, you know, rather than before you reach for the coffee or whatever. You know, these are small actions that people can work into their daily habits that I think would make a massive difference.
Even at your dinner time at work, instead of just sitting and eating, just bring your lunch on the road with you. You've got to go out for a 30-minute walk.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's lots you can do, and I think it's just about actually going and doing it.
That's the hardest thing, I think, is actually starting and doing it. But it just starts with that. I've said to people in the past, then they get caught up in, oh, but I can't do this, and what if that happens? I say, don't worry about it. It starts with a decision to change. You figure the rest out after that. You just say, tomorrow or today, I'm just going to start, and you figure it out as you go.
That's it. It's that action. It's that. I think sometimes our people can struggle to do that if they don't have a plan.
Right.
So if you don't have a direction, you're aiming towards, whether that be, a goal to feel a certain way or whatever that may be, and then an acceptance that there's going to be stumbling blocks along the way.
Right.
That things are going to change, and things are going to set you back, but that's fine as long as you can stay on that path and that why is strong enough, whether it's to be, a better human being for your community or to be a better parent, because parents, one thing that we often neglect is the skill of patience.
Right.
We all wish we could be more patient, but doing things like breath work and getting outdoors, all these slow activities where we don't distract ourselves, they create the skill of patience, don't they? And of understanding the ability to slow down time.
Yeah. 100%. I've personally benefited from it. I'm the biggest stress head going. I'm 1,000 miles an hour guy. I don't have kids, so I fill that time with extra guilt-laden stuff, like, right, I better do this, that, or the other instead then, and I've personally benefited from it. And I think, like you said earlier, it's difficult to get to the action phase if you haven't figured out entirely what it is, you're trying to get from this, or what your demons are, or whether they are surmountable. And that's why I think what you're doing at Andy's Man Club is so essential, because you can't get to that action phase until you've figured everything out. So I think being in that safe space where you can talk to other people who've been through similar things or are going through it with you, it helps you figure it out. It helps you realize that you're not alone and that you can do something about it. So it's absolutely essential, I think, what you're doing. So for people listening to this who hopefully are going to be fully signed up and want to come along to their local group, how do they get started? Where do they find their local group? Have they got to register, or can they just turn up? What do people do?
So the beauty is that we don't have a referral system. We don't have a cap on numbers. So what you do is there's two ways. One, if you're not got a group in your area. So firstly, if you go on our website, andysmanclub.co.uk, there is a link where you can click and it gives you a postcode. You can put your postcode in or your address, your town, and it finds your nearest 4 or 5 clubs. If that, for any reason, isn't working, because I know I've had some issues, just purely data, how many people have been finding their nearest club, it's put a huge demand on that system.
Right.
We always have a backup, which is to email info@andysmanclub.co.uk, and the ladies in the office will get straight back to you. That's it, really. But we do have online groups as well for people who don't have one in their area, or for whatever reason they're not comfortable leaving their house. We do have inside sessions as well, inside sessions, online sessions as well, from the comfort inside your house.
Brilliant. That's amazing. So I'll plug the links to stuff after, but just to reiterate, it's andysmanclub.co.uk. There's a ton of stuff on there as well, resources and stuff like that. It's a great site. Social media, you guys are on Twitter and Instagram at Andy's Man Club UK, and Facebook at Andy's Man Club. So you're easier to find. And
LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn as well. Yeah. Who uses LinkedIn though, really? So that's amazing. So it's basically find your club and turn up, essentially. Is that what you're saying?
Turn up.
Right.
Turn up. We've had guys who've sat out in the car for weeks on end, but you just turn up and just get through that door. We always say the toughest thing is getting through that door, but once you're through that door, just know that what our saying is that it's okay to talk, and that's what we promote within that session. And if it's not for you that day, try again. Give it a few goes, and if after 3 weeks it's not for you, go and find your thing, what might be for you. But hopefully it will be. You'll find that brotherhood, you'll find that camaraderie with people who've been through those storms like you, and then who knows, you may be you might end up being the lighthouse on the shore in someone else's dark time, like someone in that room will be for you.
Love it. Love it. It's a beautiful thing, man. And how do you guys stay afloat? Are you, I'm guessing, you're a charity, so I'm guessing you survive by donations from the public, yeah?
100%, yeah. We're just quite unique in the fact that we never ask for donations. If people want to donate, they can. That's completely fine. We're an awareness-first organisation.
Right.
So we like to raise awareness of our groups. It's probably, in some senses, a very poor model to always promote awareness first, but we're doing all right this far. We have 17 staff who are banging the drum. We don't apply for any central funding. We don't ask anyone for money. People kindly donate, whether it's through businesses, through individuals, to help keep this movement going. And we'll keep the original values as we are, which is always awareness first, guys first, families first, and then if anything comes off the back of that to better help us grow, it's just a bonus.
Amazing. So if people listening to this are incensed to want to donate, can they do that through the website as well?
Yeah, I would recommend emailing info@andysmanclub.co.uk, and the ladies will take care of it.
Awesome. Okay, so that's info@andysmanclub.co.uk. If you can spare some shekels, please send it their way. Dude, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This has been such a fascinating and brilliant chat. Thanks for sharing your story with us and all of these great tips and everything that you've gained from your own personal journey as well. And thanks for everything you've done to help change lives and change the narrative around men's mental health. I mean, this is huge, man. I mean, addressing this issue will have a massive positive effect, which will reverberate through all of society. So on behalf of all of us, we salute you and we thank you, man. I mean, what a huge achievement and an incredible thing to have done. You know, I hope you're proud of it, dude, and long may it continue to grow.
Thank you so much, man. And as you said, hopefully long may it continue to grow. And because I still genuinely, I'm not saying this in a humble sense, believe we haven't even scratched the surface yet. So let's see what's to come. You know, on his 5th birthday, his goal was to have opened 10 groups, and we opened 50 on his 5th birthday.
Wow.
And since that point, we're just coming up to our 7th birthday in June, and we've now got, by that point, probably 150 clubs. So if we can keep growing at the rate we are, I'll be happy. That's
absolutely incredible. Think of the lives you've saved, man, and the lives you've changed. That must be such a rewarding feeling.
There's still a lot to do yet.
Ever the sportsman, eh?
Well, still a hell of a lot to do.
Well, please keep doing it, brother, because you're doing great things. Luke, thank you so much for joining us today, man. This has been a fascinating chat, and I wish you nothing but the best, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care, man.
Thank you so much. See you later, guys.
Luke Ambler, ladies and gentlemen. What a dude. Seriously, what a thing to have achieved, man. I mean, you know, I think about what I've done with my life. You know, I've made some music and wrote a book and done a podcast and taken lots of selfies and all kind of stuff that revolves around me, basically. And Luke took something, a life event that happened to him that was so tragic and traumatic. You know, the loss of his brother-in-law by suicide. What a horrific thing for a family to have to go through. But this is what Luke Ambler turned that experience into. He set up a charity in his brother's name that sought to help people in a similar spot before they got to where his brother got to. And he now, as he mentioned, you know, he gets over 2,500 people through the doors every week. Now that is fucking incredible. I admire the hell out of that shit, man, honestly. That is taking the dark and turning it into light. If you're listening to this, or if you know someone who's going through a similar spot, you know, tell them to get to andysmanclub.co.uk. They can find their nearest branch on there. As Luke just said, you know, you just turn up and just get through the door. As soon as you're through the door, I think their tagline is, come and have a brew and a chat. You know, it's literally that. And just that one first brave step could be the doorway, literally, to changing your life. So please, if you're struggling, go and do it. If you know someone that's struggling, help them to get through that door. And for everyone listening, you know, regardless of your mental health situation, you know, you might not be in that dark place or that rut. But some of the things that were mentioned earlier by Luke and by myself, if I can claim some credit from what I basically regurgitated from a book that was written by somebody else, definitely, please do check out some of the techniques that we talked about, such as breath work, meditation, yoga, going for a little walk around the block, hydrating yourself, chilling out on the booze a little bit, trying to get some better sleep. I can personally tell you 100% from my own personal experience that I'm going through right now in the past few weeks, that all of that makes a massive difference. You don't have to have a bad mental health spot to be going through to benefit from that stuff. These are things that we will all benefit from. And I've been told those things for years, and I'm the guy that always resists it, 'cause I'm like, oh, stupid hippies, what do they know about anything, Yoga, meditation, yeah, okay, pass me the whiskey, baby. That's me, you know what I mean? But I got to a place where, like, I was getting these migraine headaches and vision problems, and I had driving anxiety and all this weird shit, and I was like, I gotta try and do something about this, man, and my mother bought me this book, The Body Keeps the Score, for Christmas, just gone, 2022, and I just literally finished reading it a few weeks ago, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. I would recommend everybody to go and check out that book as well if you want to learn a little bit more about how trauma stays with you, even though you might not know it's there. It's kind of snugly nestled away in your physiology. And when you read that book and he gets to the later chapter where he explains why things like meditation, yoga, and exercise, and going for a walk out in nature, and hydration, and getting better sleep, and chilling out on the booze, and eating healthier, when he explains why all those things work, it's just undeniable. And I read it, the biggest cynic, the biggest stress head in the world read it, and I was like, oh shit, that makes a lot of sense. So I started doing it, and I feel great. I feel great. You get a good night's sleep. You feel like a king, honestly. And I tell you one thing, as a whiskey addict, I hate to say it, but the thing that gives me the best night's sleep is not drinking. And now there's no way I'm giving up on the bourbon, dude. I gave up drinking for 3.5 years and then came back with a big grin on my face. I love nothing more now than, a nice, neat whiskey. But I tell you, man, during the week, if you want to wake up feeling like a champ, lay off the booze or don't have any. Like, if I don't have any now, I sleep better, which means I've got more energy to do exercise, and I want to eat better then and hydrate. The whole thing comes as a package, man. Honestly, if you're in a rut and you're in a tough spot, just find it within you somehow to just break that link in the chain. To just do whatever small habit or small action it is to try and break that cycle. And trust me, the rest of it would all just fall into place. Now, I'm not saying I'm a completed work yet. Far from it, dude. I started having therapy like, I don't know, 14 years ago, something like that, thinking I was a done deal when I came out of that, because I felt great. I did therapy for a year and I skipped at the doors thinking I'm fixed. Life's always got some more surprises for you, man, I don't think you ever get to the end of the journey. I think it's a constant work in progress. But as long as you're working in the direction of progress, then that's all that matters. Being stuck in that cycle of bullshit and darkness and self-doubt and self-loathing and self-beating and just, being completely at the mercy of our demons and our insecurities and our childhood bullshit. It's such a waste of a life, and there are things you can do. There really are things you can do. And if you really don't feel like you can do it by yourself, or if you are too far down that tunnel, please go to Andy's Man Club. Do it. I know it takes a lot of courage to actually admit that you need help or that you've got problems. And it takes so much more courage to get in the car or walk to your nearest Andy's Man Club and walk through the door. And it takes a hell of a lot of courage to talk about your problems or your vulnerabilities or your weaknesses or your demons or your fuck-ups or whatever it might be in front of a room full of strangers. Man, that takes courage. That is not a weak man. Doing that takes strength and courage beyond measure. That is not the sign of weakness or vulnerability. That is the sign of strength and courage. And it will be the best thing you ever did, because it will be the first thing that will start your life in a whole new direction. I promise you. And I'm right along with you, man, because I'm going through all this stuff too. We all are. I'm not saying this stuff as a guy, who's been through it all, come out the other side, and I'm now levitating above you on a silver yoga mat up in the clouds. That's not what's happening here. I'm going through it right now, but I think the difference is, like Luke said, is you've got to do the work, man. And if you can't, if you're too scared, or you don't think you can, or you beat yourself up too much, you don't think you're ever going to be able to change, then you need to go to Andy's Man Club, get talking, get some strength, get some solidarity, get a support group, and build your confidence and your strength up to the point where you're able to do these actions, because ultimately it's action and change which is going to change your life. And unfortunately for many of us, the only person that can actually change our internal habits is ourselves. And that takes a hell of a lot of courage, man. You know, it's easy to be the big shot, running your mouth off a high volume about what a legend you are. But, you know, those people are normally the most damaged and the most in need. And then they're normally the ones who will find it most difficult to do this stuff because they're not willing to accept or confront the fact that actually they're not confident. They are vulnerable. They are scared. And they do have weaknesses and things that they want to work on. But they're still at that point where they're burying it under bravado and volume rather than actually saying, actually, I got some shit that I got to confront. When you get to the place where you're able to say, actually, I got some shit that I need to confront and I'm going to do something about it, you're on the home stretch at that point. You just got to start. Like I said, you just got to start, man. You just got to decide that tomorrow or today or Monday or wherever it is, that's the day it's going to change. And then you figure the rest out as you go. If things start to fall into place as you start walking down that road, man, you haven't got to worry about all the detail and the specifics. It just starts with a decision. So if you're really, really, really in a bad place, make the decision that Monday, I'm going to find where my nearest Andy's Man Club is and I'm going to march through that door and I'm going to wrestle this demon until the fucker bothers me no more. I would love to hear your stories about mental health journeys, you know, anything that you tried, tips and advice, or if you just want to share your story, please put them in the comment on the YouTube version. That's the only reason I put these things on YouTube. I mean, there's no video. I don't know if anybody even listens to it on YouTube, but that's why I put them on there, so that you can engage in the comments and you can leave your thoughts or your opinions. So if you do have a story that you want to share, if you've been through this place and you've come out the other side, please share it in the comments, because it's great for other people to see that they're not alone, that other people have been through this and that it's possible to come out the other side. And if you currently attend an Andy's Man Club in your area, please let us know how it's going. And if this podcast has inspired you to go and join one or to start your mental health recovery journey, please let us know as well, because we'd love to hear from you and stay in touch and trade tips and anything that can be of use to anyone else on this journey. As always, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please give me a subscribe and please share this episode and help me to get it out there, because, you know, the social media platforms don't make it easy to promote stuff anymore. They don't like you putting links in your posts. You'll notice if you follow me on Facebook or Twitter that if I do anything that has a link in it, like literally nobody will see it. Have you seen it? No, you haven't. Did you see the picture I put up my breakfast this morning? Of course you did. So all I can do is rely on you guys to help me share it, to get it out there. Because if I try and share this episode, nobody is going to see it if I put it on Facebook. Because Mark Zuckerberg doesn't want you to have useful information. Mark Zuckerberg and all the rest of them just want you to be tied up in mindless, pointless content, arguing amongst yourselves and looking at adverts. So I need you guys to help me push this out there and share this incredible work that Luke and others are doing. I hope everything's been great with you. Have an awesome week, and boy, have I got a good one coming next week. So stay tuned and subscribe. Love you loads.